What's going on, party people? I am your host, along with three other hosts from SportsEthos. But my name is Stephen Bagel. I'm host of the Bird Rights podcast. You could find this episode, which is our playoff prediction episode for SportsEthos, on my feed, the Bird Rights podcast, on Corban Ford's feed, Roundball Ramble, on Keith and Trey's feed for SportsEthos Bowls. We are here with Keith Cork, we are here with Corban Ford, and we are here with the man, the myth, the legend, David Williams from the Memphis Grizzlies SportsEthos feed. So, obviously, this is a playoff prediction episode. Today is Monday. The play-in tournaments start tomorrow. So, I don't know when we'll all be able to get this up on our feed. Hopefully, sometime either later tonight or tomorrow before the play-in starts. But, gentlemen, let's get right into it. We are here with, as I said, Keith, David, Corban, and myself. I'm going to start with Keith. So, Keith, as you know, or as everyone knows, Keith does the Chicago Bulls coverage. The Chicago Bulls are the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference play-in tournaments. So, Keith, let's start with that game. Between Toronto and Chicago, obviously, Toronto's the 9, Chicago's the 10. Where do you think, what happens in the one game? The game's in Toronto, obviously, and then winner would play the loser of Miami, Atlanta to get in as the 8. So, for anybody, I know the play-in is new and it's confusing. Toronto and Chicago winner cannot do better than the 8 seed.
Yeah. Best we can hope for is to play against the Milwaukee Bucks, which is really just one last rung in the series of awful ladder steps that the Bulls have fallen down this season. It's just been an absolute crap show. I'm pretty much over it. I hope they lose. I really don't care. I do think though that the Raptors have a huge advantage at home. This is probably, again, with the playing games, this is probably the worst scenario. I would have rather probably had, I would definitely would have wanted the Hawks. I was hoping the Nets would fall into the play-in and the Bulls might, match up with them. Even the Heat, I probably would have taken over the Toronto Raptors. The Bulls just don't match up very well with the Raptors. They have the ability to throw doubles at DeMar DeRozan, who's a very heavy ISO player, as well as Zach LaVine. And they employ that pretty much every game. So I'm not looking forward to this. I think it's not that I think the Bulls are going to get steamrolled. I think it's going to be a close and competitive game. I think at this point in time, by the books, the Bulls are 5-point underdogs. And that sounds about right. I mean, I think it's going to be a close competitive game. The Bulls will lose by 3, 4, 5 points. And, they'll just pack it up and go home. I mean, I think that for me as a Bulls fan, it's more about what's going to happen in this offseason with Vucevic and Kobe White, needing contract extensions, needing new contracts, I should say, because their contracts are up. So, at this point in time, I think it's kind of like, I don't think the Bulls have packed it in, not by any means, but when your best case scenario is have a date again with the Milwaukee Bucks, who we lost to, and I believe it was 6 games last season or 5 games. I think it was 5 games. I just don't think the Bulls don't match up well with them either. So there's really no hope or no avenue to getting anywhere beyond, maybe a first round berth. So I think Toronto all the way for me.
Okay, so let's move on. We should have done this game first, but because you were a Bulls guy, I wanted to get your analysis on and your opinion on the Bulls. But we have Miami as a 7, Atlanta as the 8. So where do you lie with that? The game is in Miami, and let me see. Miami is a 5-point favorite over Atlanta.
And we all know that Jimmy Butler doesn't start playing until the playoffs, right? Or a week before the playoffs, or whatever he said. He doesn't start playing until the games matter, right? But he has been playing really well recently. The Hawks have been kind of in a downward spiral also. So, obviously I have to lead with the books here and kind of give the Heat an advantage here. I do think this is also going to be a competitive game. I think the Hawks, they could have that game where they do upset the Heat. I really think they could. So I'm not as sold. I'm not as sold on this one as I am with Toronto over the Bulls. I think there's maybe a 40 to 45% chance that the Hawks beat the Heat, but there's still a clear edge to me for the Heat here, just in terms of them being able to put together an actual team defense, which the Hawks just absolutely can't do. And I mean, I'm always taking Jimmy Butler over Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. I just think he's a tier above both of those guys at this point. I've never been a Trae Young believer. I think he's an exciting player to watch. I'll put it that way, but I don't know if he plays winning basketball. I think that's still very much up in the air at this point in his career.
Okay, so you have the Heat winning, and that would slot them in the 7 seed, and they'd have a 7-game series with the Boston Celtics. And then who do you have between Raptors and Hawks, Keith, for the 8 seed?
So yeah, the Raptors and the Hawks. I would have to go with Raptors again. I think again, Hawks just the downward spiral. Not really buying into Trae Young. The Raptors the ability to throw that double at Trae Young and really take him off his game. Really just neutralize him and take him out of the whole equation. I think that's going to be just too much for the for Trae Young to overcome and for the Hawks to overcome. And you only go as well as your stars go when the playoffs happen. So I don't have any faith that the Hawks have that ability at this point. So I would have to go with the Raptors.
Okay, so you have again Raptors getting the 8 seed, and then they have an appointment for 7-game series with the Milwaukee Bucks that likely won't go 7. I would assume we all have. So okay, Keith, you hold on. I'm trying my best to navigate all 4 of us without talking over each other. I'm going to shift to David. So David, same question. Miami as the 7 seed, Atlanta as the 8. Games in Miami. Miami's 5-point favorite. Who do you got in that one?
Miami for a lot of the same reasons that Keith just pointed out. The downward spiral from the Hawks. Trae Young, there have been reports that the front office has the go ahead to shop Trae Young, and John Collins has just not been playing well. I like the coaching move. I like Quinn Snyder. I think next year the Hawks will be a better team, but I don't think that this is going to be the year. I think that Miami wins this game and covers.
Okay. So then Toronto and Chicago, same question. Game is in Toronto. Toronto's 5-point favorite. Winner would play the Hawks for the 8 seed.
The prodigal son, DeMar DeRozan, comes into Toronto and treats it like home, and the Bulls beat the Raptors.
Okay. Got Keith happy there, even though
I like the confidence. I don't know if I can necessarily get myself. I've watched this team too much, but one thing I think that was interesting. I know if you guys are in the Rager Pass with SportsEthos, Brewski's actually taking the Bulls to cover. He's not taking them to win the game, but to cover the point spread. I thought that was interesting. And one of his points was that the Bulls had been on the bad side of luck for all season. And that is very true. I mean, when you're talking about last game, late game situations where the Bulls had a chance to maybe pull out a victory, or talking about shot quality and the amount of shots that are going in, or point differential, even the Bulls are better than their record indicates. So I'm probably lower on them just because I'm a fan. I've gone through that roller coaster. So I do think more people are taking the Bulls than I would probably like to believe. But yeah, I still think for me it's still the Raptors.
No, I think that's smart. Taking the home team in the playoffs. Teams that have the home court advantage tend to protect their home court, and Toronto is a tough place to play. But I think that DeRozan being there for so long, and even though he's going to be an opponent here, I think there's just going to be a level of comfortability. I think that he is going to go in and he's going to play extremely well in this game. And because of the amount of weirdness that the Bulls have faced this year with different lineups and guys going down and this and that, I think that you will see not anything crazy, but I feel like an unlikely hero is born in this game, because you always, when you get to the playoffs, you want your stars to play well, but there's always that extra guy that just happens to show up and step his game up, whether that's Kobe White or whoever, Caruso. Maybe that's the guy that goes crazy in the series. But defensively, I like the matchups of these two teams. I think that Nick Nurse runs his guys in the ground throughout the year. Like, he plays his starter, like his rotation guys play more minutes than anybody in the NBA. And I think that that's going to play a factor.
I'm going to throw a name out there for the Bulls. If you want an unlikely hero, I think he could show up in the playoffs and make a big difference. And it's going to maybe surprise some people, but Derrick Jones Jr., that's the guy I'm looking at, because he plays a small ball center for us. And I think the Bulls, I think Drummond's probably not going to play a lot in the playoffs. I'll be honest with you guys there. I think it's kind of been proven, he's such a frustrating player because he'll make a good play and then immediately make the most boneheaded decision with the basketball or whatever immediately following that. Like, he's like the most athletic but I don't want to call him dumb. It's not a nice thing to say, but his basketball IQ sometimes is it's questionable, right? Well, let's put it that way. So I think Derrick Jones Jr. is the guy I'd be looking at if you were looking for like an unsung hero. I think Caruso, he plays his role very well. You're right about that, but yeah, I'd be looking at that guy because he's the small ball center. Hits threes actually at a pretty decent rate, and plays defense. I mean, he's a big wing that be able to guard a guy like a Pascal Siakam. So yeah, maybe you're talking me around to it.
Changing his mind, reeling him in, trying to convince him to pick the home team.
So, okay, David, I know we need to get to your number 8, which you would have the Hawks at home against the Bulls. So before I give my analysis, what do you have with that? Hawks in Atlanta against the Bulls, winner gets the 8 seed.
I'm picking the Bulls again here.
Okay.
Yep. I have zero faith in what the Hawks have done to close out this year. And I find it really hard to believe that they're just going to flip a switch. Trae Young, in the playoff run that they made whenever they played the Knicks and he became the most hated man in New York, he found a different level there. But there's just something different about him this year, man. Like I watched him, and I know nobody cares about fantasy teams at this point because we're talking about the playoffs, but when you have a guy on your fantasy team, you tend to watch his team more, or I do anyway. And his body language, just some of the stuff that I saw from him this year, man, it really felt different. I don't know. I'm not going to go out and be like, oh, he's broke, like they need to trade him, but there's something going on there. And I don't know if it's Trae Young himself, if it's the coaches that he's had. I'm not sure where it is. I think there needs to be some accountability because I don't think that he is held to the same standard as the rest of the players on that team. And I think that's because of his, the moniker of being the star of the team. But I think that the coaching change that may change in Atlanta, but I don't know with that coaching change happen so late in the season, if it's enough time for it to be effective. So I have zero faith in the Hawks at all.
So let me give my picks real quick. I have Miami, just like both of you do, winning that 7-8 against Atlanta. I just think Miami straight up with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Not only are they much better, they're very well coached and better coached than the Hawks are. Quinn Snyder's absolutely no slouch, but as David did say, still getting acclimated with that new system. But again, he's not Nathan McMillan. But Eric Spoelstra, I think he's the best coach in the world. I would take him to outcoach whoever I need to in a 1-game series, and in just the 1-game playing game over anybody. So I think talent wins out. I think coaching wins out, and home field advantage wins out. I'm going to go with Miami at the 7, and then between Toronto and Chicago, I'm going to go Toronto hesitantly, mostly because of the fact that all of a sudden I saw OddsSharks on Twitter make a post that Nick Nurse is now plus money to be the Raptors coach next year which I thought almost came out of nowhere. I know we had that press conference said, oh, we're going to have to reevaluate things, but out of nowhere, he's a favorite to become the Rockets coach. Will the smoke feels fire? I think James Harden might leave Philly and end up back in Houston. Nick Nurse will take that Houston job. So I just feel like when your coach is already checked out and looking at other opportunities, it's difficult to overcome that. So I will give Toronto, because they have home field advantage and because I'm not a big believer in Chicago, the win there. But again, just because of how I think Nick Nurse has a wandering eye, I'm going to go the Hawks on their home court over Toronto. And we've seen this crazy Atlanta stat of like the last 30 games now, where they haven't been more than 1 game over 500 or more than 1 game under 500. They've either one loss, or 1-2 in a row, lost 1, 1-1, lost 1. They literally just cannot get more than a 2 or 3 game winning streak or losing streak. I have them losing the first one, so if the pattern follows, logic sounds dumb, they're going to win the next one. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about this Toronto team at the trade deadline as, the biggest seller. Are they going to keep Anunoby? Are they going to keep Siakam? Are they going to keep Van Vliet is likely going to leave in free agency. Trent might leave in free agency. I just think when all the players are already, I don't have any insider knowledge, obviously, but when all the players are already thinking about what's next, that's not a good way to go about, winning this playing game, especially on the road. So, yeah, so I have Miami as a 7. All three of us agree on that. I have Atlanta as the 8. All three of us, Keith, David, and I, and again, we're going to get to Corban. All three of us have a different 8 seed. Keith has Toronto. David has the Bulls. I have Atlanta. So, when we get Corban's picks, he's going to have to, I guess, be our tiebreaker.
Who gets the privilege of losing to the Bucks? Yeah, great prize there.
And get out of the lottery completely, which I know,
Right.
like for the Bulls and Atlanta, they don't have their own picks anyway. Which Atlanta might this year, actually, from the DeJounte Murray trade. I'm not sure, but let's move on to the West. Meanwhile, Lakers are the 7. Minnesota's the 8. Winner gets the 7. I'll start this one since I went last for the. Since I went last for the last one. I think the Lakers desperately need, and we have Corban ready to.
We're here. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Corban, stay with me 1 minute. I'm going to give my West predictions real quick, then I'm going to have you give all 4 playing games, okay?
Okay.
So I think the Lakers desperately need the number 7 seed just because of how difficult of a matchup Denver would be for them in round 1 if they fall to 8. I'm not going to spoil my picks on how far I have the Lakers going, but I think, Minnesota, no McDaniels, no Naz Reid. Obviously, Gobert is now suspended. I just think there's too much turmoil there. The Lakers have the best record in the West since the All-Star break. I think they're an easy, and I think they're 8-point favorites too over Minnesota. I'm signing them into 7. New Orleans and OKC. In New Orleans, I am going to take the Pelicans with or without Zion. We saw them, I think they were the 10 last year in the play-in and ended up snagging that 8 seed and gave Phoenix a little bit of a series. So it was the 1 last year. So obviously those players have experience. They go much deeper than OKC does. I think SGA is probably the best player in that series. But again, Pelicans could go 8-9 deep. I don't think OKC could match that. I'm going to go with the Pelicans. And then I'm going to take the Pelicans over the Timberwolves just because of all the turmoil going on with Minnesota. Even if Gobert is back for that second game, I don't know how he's going to gel with everyone. I don't trust any of that. So I'm going to slot the Pelicans into my 8. So Corban, let's move on. I think I've done enough talking. I'm trying to, mediate all 4 of us at once. So you heard all of our Eastern Conference playing picks. All 3 of us have Miami over Atlanta to be the 7 seed. Do you have the same sentiment, or do you like Atlanta in that game?
So it's funny, as I was, getting over here, getting set up, I heard you bring up, in analyzing Miami versus Atlanta, that Eric Spoelstra, the best coach out there, which while Darvin Ham is still coaching, I can't agree with. So I just wanted to push back a little bit on that. But no, aside from that, honestly, yeah, I agree with everything I said. There's some nuance there because, I don't know, Miami and Atlanta is tough for me. I think Miami's offense in general has been horrible, right? But the difference is, and I think Keith pointed out a little bit, like Jimmy Butler really only comes to play during the playoffs, right? So if we're looking at the elevation of his own game, the fact that you'd imagine that, Tyler Hero could have a game. It's one game. Like the sample size of some of these guys playing up a little bit is helpful. And at the end of the day, even though the offense for Miami is inconsistent, their defense has traveled, right? So I definitely give them, and the fact that they've been an individual, like a team-wise matchup issue for Trae Young, which kind of goes to David's point about the turmoil and stuff swirling around Atlanta. I've never been a big Atlanta fan from when they got rid of Lloyd Pierce. Like, I just didn't think that was smart. And obviously now Nate McMillan, like at the end of the day, I think we kind of know where this is going. But between the type of play they have, the just straight up averageness of their roster, and the fact they can't really say, oh, well, guess what? Atlanta got this to lean on or this to lean on. They're just going to be there, and they're going to do what they do. And that is just decent basketball, where Miami can say, okay, if we get a big Jimmy Butler game, Atlanta's not stopping that. If we play the defense that we know we're capable of doing, then we can limit Atlanta. So I'm taking Miami for sure on that. Toronto, Chicago, I don't know. I like maybe as a Lakers fan, I'm really fond of like a DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso and all these Laker targets or ex-Lakers, Pat Beverly sort of. But with that being said, I'm going to lean Toronto. I I think that the way that Chicago plays, they're prone to cold streaks. They don't generate the easiest of shots, and they're not a really good three-point shooting team, or they're not a consistent three-point shooting team. You have games where your best three-point shooter, Zach LaVine, will take like 2 threes midway through a third quarter of a game. I saw that last week, and I'm like, what? We know DeMar DeRozan doesn't do it. We know that, Ayo Sumu is kind of inconsistent there. You can say the same with Pat Beverly, who, trust me, I saw him with the Lakers, very streaky, right? Alex Caruso, not a high volume three-point shooter. You don't have a lot of that happening. Nikola Vucevic, same thing. So if your offense hits the bumps in the road that Chicago's offense is capable of doing, as we've seen for large chunks of this season, and defensively, yeah, they can be stout, but I don't know if I look at them as, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna like turn off Toronto's water. So I'm gonna go lean Toronto on that.
Okay, and then Atlanta and Toronto for the 8th. Then the game would be in Atlanta.
As much as I hate it, just bagged on Atlanta, but I'm gonna say Atlanta.
That's what I said.
Toronto just isn't.
Got the tiebreaker and agreed with me.
Yeah, I just don't think Toronto's that good of a road team. I don't think they're that good of a team, period, this year. But like, we're here, right? Playing, baby.
Okay, so then Corban, let's move to the West for you. Then I'll move to David, and then Keith will finish up with the plan. Lakers and Minnesota in LA. I know you're a Lakers guy.
Just call the next game. We know he's picking.
Honestly, I got Lakers getting out that and the first round. So, David, when you get me on to talk Grizzlies Lakers preview, don't be mad. No, I'm playing. Yeah, but we already know. I mean, you guys already stated the points. Minnesota's weak at all the positions. They need to be of strength to compete with this Lakers team, right? Their big depth is just totally just decimated, right? Karl-Anthony Towns going to be. I mean, he's going to have a big game. I think he's capable of having a big game. And then, Anthony Edwards is going to be a matchup issue as well. I'm sure the Wolves are going to try as many switches as possible to get D'Lo on him or Malik Beasley on him, whatever the case may be. But defensively, they're going to leave way too many holes. And you're taking out your best, Davis defender. You're taking out your best LeBron defender. The numbers have shown that actually Jamie McDaniels done a decent job, small sample size of the minutes of LeBron. Well, now he's gone. Welcome, Kyle Anderson. Like, okay. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think the Lakers get out of that pretty easy. Actually, I say pretty easy. It really depends on their three-point variance. But defensively, I have more trust in Lakers. Offensively, I have more trust in LeBron and AD. And I think that's going to be enough to get past that. Pelicans and Thunder. Kind of want to go Thunder.
Okay.
I kind of want to go Thunder. In a game where, it just takes a hot shooting team. It's one game. Like, I think the Thunder can catch fire a lot more than the Pelicans, mind you. Brandon Ingram's been on a heater like the last month and a half, right? But CJ McCollum's been up and down. And Trey Murphy, I mean, if he steps up and has a big game, great. But he's had games he's disappeared as well. After that, that's pretty much your offense, right? I mean, Jonas Valanciunas, who, by the way, a little piece of trivia, I'm sure y'all know, the only person that played in every, play-in tournament. Like, the only player that played in one every year, which I think is kind of neat. But, yeah, shout out to him. So, I mean, I don't trust their offense as much. So I'm gonna go with the Thunder. I know that's not a popular opinion, and trust me, I can be swayed and kind of was back over to the Pelicans, but they've just not been inspiring to me. Like, their basketball's not been great. I don't want to say it's with the loss of Zion because they've had injuries as well, but regardless, like, Herb Jones has been shown, hey, he can't shoot, and like the numbers have borne that out. Even his wide open 3-point shooting numbers have shown that. CJ McCollum, he ebbs and flows, right? And after that, I don't know. So I'm taking the Thunder, and then and then it's going to be Wolves and Thunder. And I'm taking Minnesota. In Minnesota, I'm taking the Wolves.
Okay. David, what about you? 7-8 Lakers, T-Wolves, who you got?
Yeah, I don't see that there's any way that Minnesota wins this game. I think the loss of Gobert, I don't think impacts that team that much. I know what kind of defense he brings to it, but I like their lineup with Kyle Anderson at the 4 and Towns at the 5. I think that Towns is going to match up better against AD than what Gobert would. But then losing a guy like McDaniels, like Corban pointed out, his defense on LeBron was going to be crucial, and he gets mad and punches a wall. And so now he's out. I do think that Anthony Edwards could be an X factor in this game because the Lakers do not have a wing stopper. They don't like when you make the moves that you make, you lose KCP. Like, he is a good wing defender. And I don't feel like there's anybody on that team when LeBron wants to bring his hard at and lunch bell, like, he can play good defense. We all know that. but is he going to match up? Like, you're not going to put him on Anthony Edwards for the entire game. You want more out of offense. Man, did you really just type in Troy Brown Jr.? Get out of my face, dude.
But okay, all right. That was the joke, though. I put the
You-
name of the person I really believe.
Do
in
you
there.
legitimately think so? Like, I know that Vanderbilt is a good defender. I
you.
will give you that.
Thank you.
But I don't think that he is a certified wing stopper. I don't think he wants any smoke from Anthony Edwards. I still think the Lakers win this game because Minnesota just doesn't have enough. But the Lakers defense will get exposed in the first round matchup against the Grizzlies.
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, wow. Absolutely not. In fact, I'm hoping we get the Grizzlies. Like, the Nuggets will be a tougher matchup.
We're skipping ahead.
I'm sorry. Because I knew Dave was going to say something. I knew him. Like, I love my guy David, but I knew. Anyway, let's not even go there. But I'm praying we get Memphis. Please. Let John Morant get like 40 a game and y'all go out in 5. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
5, yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, we're going to get there. So before we jump ahead,
that's where the fireworks are.
David, who do you like between Pelicans and Thunder in New Orleans?
Man, I hate the Smoothie King Arena so much. If you have never been to a game there, save your money. Do not do it. That arena is dog water. It's terrible. So for that reason, I'm gonna pick the Thunder to win that game. I know that's a random reason, but yeah, I like OKC to win that game.
And then T-Wolves and OKC for the 8th seed.
We were kind of talking about this before we started recording. I would love to see OKC without minutes restrictions, going all in, doing everything that they can to win. I would like to see them win this game and go into a matchup against Denver so we could see playoff SGA, and then what does Josh Giddey look like, and the rest of these young role players. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is the guy that I really like throughout the draft process, just because he plays high IQ basketball and he rarely makes a mistake. And I think that role players like that are going to be key whenever that team gets better as they continue to try to grow and win games. Chet comes back next year. I think that that's going to make some impact. I don't think that they make a deep run this year, but heck, I'm going to take them. I'm going to take them to end up being the 8th seed over the Wolves. Gobert will probably be back by the time you get to that game. But I think that you don't punch a teammate and chemistry just magically comes back.
Look at the Warriors. They're defending champs, and they ended up a 6th seed after.
Well, that's because the best coach on their staff is now coaching the Kings. That's why that team is where it's at. And well, I don't want to take away the Andrew Wiggins thing, right? Like they missed him for a big portion of the year. But I said the entire time that they were winning those championships that I think Mike Brown is a better coach than Steve Kerr. And I will say that until I run out of breath.
I guess we will see when we have the Kings playing the Warriors and those guys are coaching against each other. But we'll get there. Keith, obviously, you've been sitting on the sidelines for a little bit now, so I'm going to get you back in. So we just saw Corban basically break out tie because you, me, and David all had different 8 seeds in the East playing. And now Corban, me, and David all have 3 different 8 seeds in the West playing. So you're going to be our tiebreaker for this one. Do you also have the Lakers over the Timberwolves in LA for the first playing game?
Yeah, no question. I mean, when the trade deadline happened, I mean, the Lakers got every single piece that they needed, and it just I left that trade deadline game going, how did this happen? The Lakers got not infinitely better. I mean, I think they still have flaws. There's still, I still don't buy them as like a championship contender personally, but I do think that they got a lot of good pieces there. And just incredible. I mean, hats off to Rob Pelinka and all that. But yeah, I definitely have them over the Wolves here without Gobert or Naz Reid or who else am I missing there? Jaden McDaniels. So yeah, I definitely have them over them.
Okay, so then Pelicans and OKC in New Orleans.
Y'all smoking something, man, because I mean, I want to see OKC Thunder. I want to see them playing in a playoff series, but man, I'm taking Pelicans, and here's why. Pelicans actually play with a rotation, right? They actually play games with their top 8 players actually get significant minutes, whereas the Thunder have had, I don't know how many different starting lineups in this season, probably like upwards of 30 at this point, right? They just seem to have guys slipping in and out of the lineup here. So I just have no confidence when you actually cut that rotation down to 8 or 9 players that the Thunder actually have that kind of depth and those pieces that know what they're going to be doing in a game that actually matters. So, I mean, the Thunder are a fun team. I want to see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in a playoff series. I absolutely do. But no, I'm taking the Pellies here. Brandon Ingram, as Corban said, on a heater here the last month, and I think that's going to continue. Hopefully, CJ plays better as well.
So then you have Minnesota at home against the Pelicans for the 8th seed.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one. I've been thinking about it as we've been talking here. I'm like, who am I going to take here? I got to take Minnesota, though. I think ultimately, I do think that, Gobert back in the mix there. I think Gobert and Anthony Towns, when it comes playoff time, that is going to be a formidable duo at the center position and power forward position. And, if you're talking them against, Jonas Valanciunas and Trey Murphy, Herb Brown, Herb Jones, whoever's playing that 4 spot there for him, I think I have to take the Timberwolves.
Okay, so Corban wins this tiebreaker now, actually. So Keith and Corban both have T-Wolves at the 8. We all have Lakers 7. David has OKC at the 8. I have the Pelicans at the 8. So now that it took us, 25 minutes to get through the play-in tournaments, let's go a little bit rapid fire with some analysis. But David, let's start with you this time. You have Milwaukee Milwaukee is the 1 in the East, and you have the Bulls as the 8. How many games is Milwaukee winning? Because I assume you have Milwaukee beating Chicago.
Yeah, I don't know if Chicago wins a game against them.
Okay.
I think Bucks in 4 or 5 at the most.
Okay, then I have Bucks and Hawks. I'm going to agree. I'm also going to say Bucks and 4. I think Toronto might give Milwaukee, if they were to be the 8, a little bit more of a run because I guess their rotation runs a little deeper and they're a little bit better coach, even though I already talked about my worries about Nick Nurse have a wandering eye. Corban, what about you? You have the Hawks as your 8, so Milwaukee and Atlanta. How many do you think Milwaukee will win in? If you assume they win.
3.
3?
No, I'm obviously joking, but no, I think it's gonna be a sweep. I don't think they have no one that's gonna match up with Giannis. I think that Drew Holiday can definitely put pressure on Trae Young, and I'm saying that with like all the quotations in the world. I'm starting to regret even picking Atlanta right now, just because it kind of feels not right. I feel like a 2K simulation gone awry. But yeah, I just don't. I don't see it being a competition for Milwaukee, and I think it'll be a quick work with them. Maybe the Hawks get 1 game. Maybe they get 1 game in Atlanta. They're knocking out a bunch of threes, between Young and Bogey, and they're all getting there. Maybe that happens, but I see it going the way of the traditional, Milwaukee, Detroit, or Milwaukee, Orlando, or Toronto, Orlando, the ones we've seen the last couple of years, where there's a reason you're the AFC and there's a reason number 1, playing or not.
Okay, then Keith has Toronto as the 8. Keith, what do you think between Milwaukee and Toronto?
I do think Toronto. I think Nick Nurse cooks up something for like at least a win, so I'll give him 5 games. But yeah, for sure, the Milwaukee Bucks are beating the Raptors.
Okay, so then Keith, I'm going to stick with you. We all have Miami's our 7, so we're all going to say Boston, Miami. Keith, it's on you.
Boston's winning, but I do think Miami does turn it on late season. I think that they will give Boston a run for their money, so to speak. I think it goes 6 games, but yeah, I got Boston for sure.
Okay, David, what about you? Boston, Miami.
Boston 6.
Okay. I am definitely Boston. I want to agree with both Keith and David with Boston in 6. But the point Corban brought up with Miami is just how bad that offense is. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with Boston as a result. I'm going to say Boston in 6 still, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. This is a cop-out answer if we went in 5. But I'm going to go Boston in 6. Corban, what about you? Boston, Miami.
We're going to go Boston. Sorry, I'm dealing with allergies, so I've been coming off and on with the camera. We're gonna go with Boston though. I think
How many games?
3. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just gonna keep going with that. No, I'm gonna say Boston in 5.
Okay.
This Miami Heat team is weaker than they were last year when they pushed Boston. That's just it is what it is, right? Kyle Lowry's regressed. I think he was a bigger factor last season. The collective offense has gone down. Boston's been a well-oiled machine. Their bench got better, and Jimmy Butler's great, but he's not that great. Like 5.
Okay. Then I'm going to start next with, because I guess I'm the Sixers guy in here, and I have Sixers and Nets. I think I'm going to say Sixers in 5, but it's not going to feel like 5. I think, Sixers go up 3-0, and then Brooklyn wins that 4th game at home, and Sixers goes in. I don't think it's going to be very competitive, but I do think Brooklyn steals one. Brooklyn stole one a couple of years ago when D'Angelo Russell was on that team when the Sixers played them. The Nets actually won game 1 in Philly that year. But yeah, I'm going to go Sixers in 5, but I don't think it's going to be much of a series. I think Mikal Bridges is going to get hot enough because I do think he's a certified stud. And Sixers don't have any wings. They're playing Tobias Harris, who's a power forward at the 3, because they have PJ Tucker and Embiid, Harden, and Maxey. So I do think Bridges is good enough that he's going to, find a way to steal a game from the Sixers. So, Corban, I'm going to shoot back to you. Sixers and Nets, what do you think?
I'm going to say Sixers. Nets are happy to be there this year.
How many?
5.
Okay. David, what about you?
The Sixers in 4.
Okay.
I think that Embiid and Harden are both motivated. And I kind of said this before the season. Those guys have more than any other stars in this league to prove because they have both been on good teams, but they hadn't been able to get over the hump. Embiid has played incredibly well this year, and I'm not going to get into the MVP conversation on here because I think a lot of you guys would disagree with me on who should be the MVP. But
it's not Ja.
No, not at all. That was I love the Grizzlies, but it's definitely not Ja Morant this year. But I think that the Sixers are a little more motivated, and I just don't think that Brooklyn wants any parts of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think gentleman's sweep here for me. I think Brooklyn does steal one, but yeah, 5 games here. Sixers take work of them, but man, that Brooklyn team is fun to watch though. So I do hope they do steal one because they'll be excited and it'll be good for them. They're still a young team, so.
Okay. Then our last series in the East is the 4-seed Cleveland against the Knicks. David, I'm going to start with you now. Cleveland and New York, what do you got?
I like Thibodeau and the Knicks in this series.
Okay.
I think that Cleveland has more talent, but I feel like Tibbs is a better coach. And I think there were a lot of folks that were bashing the Knicks for paying Jalen Brunson. I say that. Is Brunson healthy? Is he going to be playing?
Brunson's healthy. I don't know isn't Vandal out right now? They said he's questionable for game 1.
Yeah, I don't like the crazy season. I got lost. I was so focused on trying to win fantasy championships that I wasn't keeping up with the injuries as much as I should. So I don't know if New York is healthy. I like them to win this series. I like, you talked about taking Spo over kind of anybody in the league. And I don't think that highly of Tibbs, but he has experience. He knows how to win playoff series. And I think that they do it here. I think it's a good series, probably 6 or 7 games, but I like the Knicks to win it if they're healthy.
Okay, Keith, what about you?
Yeah, I think the spread right now on books is and it's interesting because I had the opportunity here to take the spread at 1.5 games. So if they win by 2 games, the Cavaliers, it's plus 120. But I end up taking the series price at minus 185 for the Cavs to beat the Knicks. I'm going to ride with that.
Now minus 205.
Yeah, it's
here. And...
Right. So it was a good bet because I'm getting my closing line value there. But anyways, I do like I like the Cavaliers to win here. I think it's going to be a 7-game series. I really do. This is a really interesting series. This is going to be probably the toughest first round matchup in the entire NBA. I agree with you that I think the coaching probably favors Tibbs. And the situation, the atmosphere favors Tibbs also, where you're just playing your top guys and running them into the ground. I know we said that about Nick Nurse as kind of a negative, but I see that as kind of a positive come playoff time because that's the rotation you're going with, man. It's 8-9 guys and that's it, and that's how kind of I'm looking at these things. But I do think the Cavs, obviously, as David said, they've got the talent upside, and they've also got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are just beasts on there. I just don't see the Knicks contending with that on the interior, so they're going to be stuck shooting a lot of threes. They're not a bad 3-point shooting team. I think they're actually one of the better ones in the NBA. So it's going to be an interesting one, but my gut says Cavs 7-game series.
I'm also going to go Cavs, but I'm going to go 6 games. we saw the Knicks a couple years ago when they played Atlanta and they were the 4 seed. They had home field advantage, and things didn't go as planned. I do think this is a completely different Knicks team. I do think Julius Randle's for real this time. They now have a legitimate point guard in Jalen Brunson. Emmanuel quickly might win 6th Man of the Year. They have Josh Hart coming off the bench as well. They go at least 7 deep. But Cleveland, I believe, is one of 3 teams to have a top 10 offense and defense, along with the Sixers and the Celtics. That defense is elite. The offense is pretty damn good, and I just think Cleveland overall has a talent advantage. They have home court advantage, and I probably agree the Knicks have the coaching advantage, but again, I'm not a big Tibbs guy, so I don't like it enough to have that sway me one way or another, so I'm going Cavs in 6. So, Corban, what do you have between Cavs and Knicks?
Corban, before you go, I'm not trying to talk all B-roll, but I looked up the Randle injury. There's not been an update since March 30th.
And they said he's out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they said that there is a chance that he will return in the first round of the playoffs. So we will probably not know until like the play-in games get passed or whatever. But I'm going to go into this taking the Knicks, assuming that Julius Randle is going to be healthy. If he's not healthy, I think the Cavs run away with this in a landslide.
Okay. Yeah, I have the Cavs winning regardless, so I would agree with that. And Keith, again, also has the Cavs winning regardless of Julius Randle. But, hopefully for the sake of basketball fans, Julius Randle is going to be healthy and have a good series. So, Corban, what do you have between Cavs and Knicks?
I have Cavs. If Julius Randle is out, I have Cavs over 5. If Julius Randle is in, I have Cavs over 5 with one Julius Randle bad game. So, yeah,
Okay.
I just don't. Yeah. I'm from New York, and I feel bad about it, but no. I just feel it's a matchup problem. And I respectfully disagree about the coaching of Tibbs. Not that Bickerstaff is some maestro on his end either, but Bickerstaff does have, in my opinion, a better backcourt and more size and talent in the front line. And although Knicks have spots here and there in the bench and Jalen Brunson, yeah, it's Cavs for me, regardless.
Okay, Corban, then I'm going to stick with you when we're going to move to the West. 1 seed Nuggets, and then your 8 is Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, it's the Nuggets. I mean, I'd love to see Rudy Gobert, validate why he's one of the best defensive bigs in the league and worth all that capital he was traded for. But alas, we won't. Or we will, and it just won't be pretty. Yeah, Nuggets are going to take that. And yeah, the more I'm thinking about this, I'm like, are they even going to make it? But yeah, Nuggets are taking that.
How many games?
4.
Okay, you have a sweep.
I want to say, 5 because I think one good Ant game, but I just don't. 5. I'm gonna say 5. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say 5.
And I'm gonna take Denver in 5 over the Pelicans.
Okay. Yeah, Denver's moving on. They're lucky they're not. Anyways.
And the Lakers?
I mean, I didn't say it.
I said it for you. Okay. David, what do you got? You got Nuggets versus OKC.
Nuggets win that series, and I think it's in 4.
Okay, Keith, Nuggets, and you have Minnesota.
Nuggets, but I'm gonna say 6. I mean, the Nuggets haven't blown out teams this season. And I know Jokic is in talks to be MVP. He's one of the most talented offensive players in the NBA. But yeah, hey man, Gobert's got to earn his stripes somewhere, man. So there you go. You got the MVP center across from you. What are you gonna do? Your move, right? I don't believe in Gobert. I don't think any of us really does. But at the end of the day, I do think that the Wolves are tougher than getting swept here. So I'm gonna go Denver in 6.
Okay. Keith, you and I are going to really quickly, because we have the Grizzlies and the Lakers. Obviously, we have David on, and we have Corban, who's a Lakers guy. So,
I'll let those guys take the analysis. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
You and I will go first, and then let those 2 guys have a constructive debate.
It's going to be interesting, too. Go ahead. Yeah, you go first. You go first. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm actually going to side with Corban on this one. Not because I don't think the Grizzlies are a bad team by any means. I think the Grizzlies are actually a very legitimate title contender. But as I said, the Lakers do have the best record in the West since the All-Star break. I had Sam Quinn on Bird Rights the other day, and we talked about how we both don't love Rob Pelinka. I think most front office guys don't love what Rob Pelinka's done. But I think he did an excellent job at the trade deadline. I think he did a great job surrounding LeBron and AD. with the adequate pieces that they need, and I think they match up very well against the Grizzlies. So I'm going to go Lakers, and let's see, Game 7 would be in Memphis. So I guess I would go Lakers in 6, and they win on their home courts. So I know David's going to have something to say about that. I know Corban's definitely got something to say about that. So Keith, what do you have between Grizzlies and Lakers? Keith, I think you're muted.
You don't want to talk about it so badly. You mute yourself.
I really didn't want to talk about it. Can I just go back?
I figured as much. You were like, let me pretend.
I really don't even want. I got Lakers in 7, man. I really do. I'm sorry. I've got Lakers in 7.
Okay, David, the floor is yours.
Well, I mean, you could go ahead and let Corban go, so it can be all of the Lakers guys taking the Lakers. In 6
because
and 7.
see, y'all Grizzlies got some victim complex. Y'all want us all to stack up on you.
David is low key loving being the underdog again.
Hey, that's fine. Memphis gets no respect.
None. We never give any respect.
They don't. So please make a case for anybody other than Jaren Jackson to win Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Didn't play enough
can you
minutes.
guys?
Anthony Davis.
That's the argument.
You're gonna give Joel Embiid the MVP, but you're not gonna give him Defensive Player. Embiid played 3 more games than Jaren Jackson Jr., but you're fine with an MVP playing 3. Like I don't have the numbers up, so I don't. It's like 58-61
because there's a big difference. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean for sure, Jaren Jackson is not on the level of Embiid, but if you're gonna give Embiid the MVP, you have to dock him for the games played as compared to what, like, he played 3 more than Jaren Jackson. So if you're giving him the MVP, Jaren Jackson should be in your Defensive Player of the Year conversation. You look at the on-off numbers, the percentage of block shots, everything that he done, his body of work throughout the year, and he's getting no respect. There was a leaked vote for Defensive Player of the Year, and somebody voted for Draymond Green. Listen, I love Draymond Green. I know what he does for that Warriors team, but you cannot look at me with a straight face and tell me that Draymond Green had a Defensive Player of the Year type season this year. He did not. You won't convince me of it. I think this is going to be a great series. I love this matchup for the Grizzlies, and I love the way that this bracket is slanted, because in order to step your game up to the next level, this Grizzlies team is young and up and coming. You have to beat good teams. And a lot of teams were scared of matchups. They're like, oh, I don't want to face this team in the first round. I've got bad news for you. If your team can't beat a team in the first round, you're probably not going to win a title anyway. So I think that this series goes 7 because I still have respect for LeBron and Anthony Davis. But 18 days after the trade deadline, and they got this wing stopper, Ja Morant scored 28 points in 1 quarter against this Lakers defense when they were healthy.
Was LeBron in
Memphis
that game?
Grizzlies, what's that?
LeBron. We wouldn't have stopped Ja, but we weren't healthy.
Yeah.
But just want to push back. I'm sorry.
Was LeBron
not? He was not there.
Mm-mm. Okay,
but Ja still scored 28
in LA.
No,
when
he wasn't.
Okay. I thought that LeBron played that game, but LeBron wouldn't be guarding Ja Morant.
Exactly. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. LeBron don't want that smoke on defense.
He's 38.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
He's got
defense like concrete blocks on his feet. He can't. So I think it goes 7 games. I think the Grizzlies win the series, but I think everybody expects the Lakers to win this series, and they're going to be surprised at how well the Grizzlies match up. You are missing Steven Adams, but Steven Adams will get played off the court in this series because he cannot guard Anthony Davis, and they're not going to play anybody bigger than Anthony Davis, so you can't hide him anywhere. The one thing that the Grizzlies are going to be missing, and I think it's going to be a glaring hole for them, is Brandon Clark. Last year in the playoffs, Brandon Clark was phenomenal. Without Brandon Clark, they don't beat the Timberwolves. So Xavier Tillman is going to have to play extremely well. Jaren Jackson is going to have to match up well against Anthony Davis, and that's been a nightmare matchup for him. But we've seen a lot of growth from Jaren over this season, and so I think that growth that we have seen from him, the Lakers not only have to stop Ja Morant, they have to stop Desmond Bane. Luke Kennard, since he's been in Memphis, has been the best 3-point shooter in the league. And then Jaren Jackson, when Ja Morant was out, he was averaging 25 points a game. Yeah, you have Anthony Davis. That's going to be a good defensive matchup, but you have more weapons in Memphis than what they've ever had. And the national media and people that don't watch the Grizzlies play think that their only offense is Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. And I've heard it on ESPN over and over and over again. And it's like, listen, guys, if you don't watch the Grizzlies play and you only watch highlights, just say that shit, because that's exactly what's going on.
Let me ask you something, Dave. How do you feel about the absence of Steve Adams? I was really hoping they'd have him back. I felt like that was a big loss.
Now, in this series, it's not.
Right.
He would have been played off the floor. If you go back to the Minnesota series last year against Karl Anthony Towns, he was getting killed. And then in the Golden State series, Steven Adams, they were targeting him in the pick and roll, and they were eating his lunch, dude. Like he got neutralized in those series because they were targeting him. I love him. He is super impactful for the way that the Grizzlies play, but the style of game that they play with Steven Adams on the floor is not going to win in the playoffs. The style of basketball that they need to play is without Steven Adams on the floor, and it's with somebody like with Jaren playing at the 5, and then either running Dylan Brooks as your small ball 4, or whatever combination of either Tillman, Brooks, Santi Aldama, one of those guys being the 4 and Jackson at the 5. Now, I will say, like, the Davis Jaren Jackson thing, that's going to be the X factor of this series. If Jaren Jackson is able to play defense and stay on the floor against this team, the Grizzlies have a chance. If Anthony Davis gets him rattled and he stays in foul trouble, it's over. The Lakers will run away with this series if Jaren Jackson cannot figure it out. But that's the only way. And there, like I said, there have been a ton of, and I know, like, as somebody that watches the Grizzlies day in and day out, I know that a lot of people, because of AD, because of LeBron, and because of how good this Lakers team has been post-trade deadline, I know that the Grizzlies are going to be underdogs, even though they're the 2 in this series.
Okay, so David said Grizzlies in 7. Corban obviously has the Lakers. I'm going to move on.
But you didn't let me get my explanation as to
Okay, go ahead, Corban.
I'm just kidding, Stephen. I'm giving you a hard time. No, David, actually, so it's funny. I was talking to my friend, and of course, I'm the delusional Laker fan, and I get it. But I did say we would turn it around after the trade deadline, and we did. I did say we'd make the play-in tournament after a 2-10 start, and we did. Like, so far I'm looking like Nostradamus over here. But I think for me, the Grizzlies are a tough matchup. Like, Ja Morant's going to score all the points. I don't think there's any joke. Like, D'Lo's not going to stop him. Vando can only guard one person. Although I would like Vando on Ja. Ja's like just sheer athleticism. Like, he did the 28 and a quarter, and Vando was playing. So, like, it's not going to stop. Plus, Vando's not that guard kind of guy. Like, we don't have a matchup for him. At the same time, I've seen Pat Beverly go on miniature 10-0 runs against Ja Morant. So, like, and we have better scores than Pat Beverly. And Pat Beverly, like, sought out Ja Morant, and it was pretty ugly. Like, Ja Morant's, as good as he is offensively, I don't understand why he is such inept defensively, but he just definitely is. With that being said, Jaren Jackson, I think it's like a trickle down effect, because Dylan Brooks and LeBron is a nice matchup, but one that I'm not really worried about for LeBron. Defensively, I think the loss of Brandon Clark is huge, because he's the one guy that can kind of swing between both. I also think Steven Adams is huge, because he's at least a big body that you put out there. You get smaller after him. Jaren Jackson is going to give you 28 minutes of good work. And I say 28 for a reason, because foul trouble follows Jaren Jackson Jr. Instead of Jr. is Jaren Jackson 4 fouls. Like, that's how I look at him. So I feel like like, he's played well, and when he's there, he's a thorn in the Lakers side, because he is able to stretch the floor. He's able to finish around the rim. He runs really well. That's great. He just can't stay out of foul trouble. And I'm tired of people saying, like, oh, it's historically, he just can't. Like, until he proves otherwise, I'm going to believe he's going to do what he's been doing, which is just that. So I see him in foul trouble, and I see that being a problem. If Ja Morant, we don't have, like, perimeter, like, penetrating point of attack, not point of attack, we don't have penetrators at our guard positions, but we have guys who know how to get crafty guards who know how to go and score and draw fouls. Austin Reeves one of the best at doing that. D'Angelo Russell one of the best at doing that. Ja Morant can't stop any of that. Now, I'm not saying that those guys are going to go off for, 25 and 30 points. What I am saying is that you're going to have some of the backline help of the Grizzlies shift over to defend some of that, because Desmond Bane is good for his position, but there's another one. And we're not even saying that, the LeBron James isolations and the pick and roll cross matches are going to happen. So that's why I see it. That being said, the Grizzlies are nice. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson are great. I don't trust their half-court offense. I don't. I think that in a regular season, even when Ja Morant was doing what he was doing, in that matchup in this what I think it was late February. I forgot, but like when Ja Morant was doing what he was doing, I was like, okay, that's good. Like he's going to be a problem regardless. He was a problem in last year's playoffs too. But like they need that to. I don't know what that was. Excuse me.
That was
I
the
just heard.
computer get tired of listening to your bullcrap. That's what it was.
You know what? Maybe it was because I had Bassel reference up, and all of a sudden a Country Crock commercial popped up. I was like, I'm not watching no Country Crock. Anyway, I'm not talking a bunch of crock, David. And I'm just saying that I don't trust the Grizzlies' perimeter shooting long term. Desmond Bane is your best shooter, and Jaren Jackson when he's there. I don't.
It's okay. He's national media, just like these other guys that don't watch.
Oh, you're funny.
So I came to expect it.
Luke Kennard is nice. I just don't. Luke Kennard's nice. I don't trust his defense. I don't trust the Memphis' defense, and you have to do a defense for offensive trade. I haven't watched enough Grizzlies like that to say that. Like you said, I'm not a Grizzlies expert. You watch every game twice, but I've watched enough Lakers games. I've watched the Lakers Grizzlies matchups, and I would say Lakers in 5 just to really rankle David, but I'm gonna say Lakers in 6 because I think that's more likely. It's more likely 6 and 7. I just think matchup wise, AD and LeBron are a problem. That's just in general, and that's definitely for the Grizzlies.
5 years ago, they were a problem. Now the only problem is their freaking Ben Gay that they got to use out there on the floor.
Oh, you're hilarious. Don't be salty. See, this is why no one likes Memphis Grizzly fan. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Right.
I love, listen, David knows. Me and David go back. I was giving him a hard time. I actually am going to be excited if we match up because me and you've been talking for years, man, and it's going to be fun.
It is.
It's going to be fun. That's all that I'm excited for.
and also, like, a selfish reason, I'm a season ticket holder, so I have playoff tickets. This Lakers matchup, I'm gonna make a boatload of money, a boatload of money selling these tickets. So yeah, I'm here for it.
I'm happy for you.
I want it to go 7. I will not sell game 7, but I want it to go 7 so I can get max dollars out of this series.
Yes, sir. You go, man.
Let's move on to the Warriors and Kings. I feel like the biggest argument against Golden State is the fact that their away record is 11-30. But at the same time, the counter argument, at least my perspective, is they're 33-8 at home. So if they lose every road game and they win every home game, they're going to lose in 7. They just got to steal 1 in Sacramento. And as I said to one of my buddies earlier today, Golden State hasn't lost a playoff series to a Western Conference team since 2014. They missed the playoffs twice and went to the finals every other year. I just think the continuity, I think the experience, I think that wins out. Sacramento can't play a lick of defense. So I'm going to go Warriors in 6 here. Corban, what do you have in that series?
Yeah, I'm gonna do Warriors in 6. It's gonna be that's a series I'm looking forward to fun between Lakers and Grizzlies because between David and Joe Mullinex and other guys I know, like it's gonna be fun just to rib on them and be ribbed on. But like from pure basketball entertainment, like it's going to be Kings and Warriors for me. The cross matching, I don't think that Mike Brown is a better coach than Steve Kerr, but I do think that Mike Brown is a dang good coach, David. I think he's an underrated coach for his over his career, and I think that defensively he's been underrated for the stuff he's been able to do. Not talking about Sacramento, but now he's on a team that offensively they have the firepower that, let's be real, at his other stops Brown did not have. Those Cleveland teams, you had LeBron, of course, and some, guard play up and down from Mo Williams and, guys of that ilk.
You can just stop there. Like, that's all he had. He had Mo Williams and LeBron, pretty much.
That's pretty much it. I was going to say, what's his name? I forgot. Doesn't matter. The other guard, anyway, doesn't matter.
Ruby Gibson.
Delonte West, exactly. Oh, yeah. But even he was like very streaky. So you're right. Should have stopped at Mo Williams. And then if you look at him, post LeBron, we saw what that team looked like. Look at him in LA. Yeah, Kobe, but like later career Kobe, right? Not the jacker of shots, but it just wasn't a good fit. It was a lot more of a deliberate play. Bottom line, Brown is on a team now where the offense is electric and the defense is another story, which is hilarious. But the Warriors, I mean, yes, in terms of that conversation of defensive player of the year, Draymond is in there. Absolutely. But like, the Warriors defense doesn't really fear anyone, especially when they're not home, right? It's like they forget how to play positional defense, right? I definitely think De'Aaron Fox is going to be an issue. I want to see a big Keegan Murray game, Harrison Barnes revenge game. Let's go. I'm just really pumped. Let me just get to the actual prediction. I'll stop talking. I'm going to have Warriors in 6, but I cannot wait. It's going to be game 1, right? Sacramento, like the noise that's gonna be in there.
Light the
Huh?
light the beam.
Oh, Light the Beam is going to go crazy. You have who's their announcer's name? Jeez. I literally just said it.
Come out like the play-by-play guy.
Yeah,
the one that-
ESPN.
is
Who's the
it
play-by-play?
Mark Jones.
Mark
right?
Jones, thank you. Mark Jones and Doris Burke on the call. Like, it's gonna be fire. I'm very like you talk about I'm beaming right now. Like the freaking beam, I'm beaming. Like, let's go. But yeah, Warriors in 6. I just think you gotta play defense at some point. And come on, we trust the Warriors to do that more than we trust the Kings.
Okay, David, what do you have? Warriors, Kings.
I like the Warriors in this one as well. Warriors in 6.
Okay, and Keith.
I'm gonna stick out there, man. I'm gonna be the guy. I'm gonna say Kings in 6. This is absolutely the worst matchup the Kings could have drawn here. Absolutely, because they're gonna constantly put some bonus in that pick and roll with Steph Curry, Draymond Green. It's gonna be ugly on that side. Absolutely, Corbin's right about that. But here's what I'm gonna say: the Kings are just gonna outscore them. The Kings have that ability, and that's crazy. But this is absolutely the most efficient offense in the NBA. It's gonna, as Corbin said, it's gonna be the most fun series to watch. There's gonna be a lot of scoring. I'm waiting for that 146 to 142 barn burner, which we're gonna get in this series.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would love to see it go 7 games just because I think it's gonna be entertaining as heck. But no, I'm taking the Kings in 6. I think they're gonna outscore them. I think they're gonna say screw it on the defensive end. They're just gonna do what they're gonna do. And I think it really comes down to at the end of the day, are the Warriors hitting their 3-point shots? And a lot of Warriors wins come down to that. So I'm gambling here, but I'm gonna take my money. I'm gonna put it on the Kings.
Hey, Keith, while I have you, give me Suns and Clippers.
Suns and Clippers is gonna be a good one, man. Absolutely gonna be a good one. But I'm gonna have to take
Paul
the
George
Suns.
plays.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Suns. I think even if Paul George does play, let's just assume perfect health. Watching Kevin Durant on this Suns team has just been transcendent basketball, man. Devin Booker's never been more wide open in his life, and this dude's gonna shoot like 55% from the field and score 35, 40 points a game in the playoffs. This is gonna be Devin Booker's show on the offensive end, but it's gonna be because Kevin Durant enables him to do that. So I'm gonna go Suns. It's gonna be a good series. I'm gonna go Suns in 6. That's what I'm gonna go.
David, what about you?
Yeah, I like the Suns here. I don't. I'm not going to give the Clippers even that much credit. I think the Suns make pretty easy work of this team. Suns in 5.
Okay, I'm gonna go Suns in 6, assuming Paul George is playing. And obviously, the Suns don't have that continuity quite yet. All of Chris Paul, Aiden, KD, and Booker have only played, I think, 8 games together. And the biggest win they had with those 8 was against the T-Wolves, the Bulls, and the Mavs. So 2 teams that made the play-in and 1 team that didn't even make it. So they haven't really played legitimate competition with this group together. I do think, Ty Lue might be the second best coach in the world if, we all agree Spoelstra is the best. And if you give me Paul George and Kawhi, I think Suns will find a way, but I think it will be in 6. Corban, what about you? Suns and Clippers?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go Suns in. I don't trust the Suns. I'm going to go Suns in 6. KD's looked great, but they've also not been playing like great competition over those last couple of games. That's not going to really make a difference for KD. He's still going to be great. I'm worried about the other Suns ancillary players outside of that, right? Like, you get a good solid KD game. You had some games where KD uncharacteristically did not show up from the field, and yet they still won. The Suns are a very good team. I don't know if I really trust their bench a lot, and I also think Chris Paul going to be 38, and we saw how that happened very early. Get out of round 1, round 2 came 38, and then just veered into the abyss. I'm not saying that isn't a possibility. And that's a lot of pressure still on Booker and KD. And KD isn't like invincible. He's not, I think like if some of the shines come off LeBron, like we saw, KD and Kyrie go out without a game, against a Celtics team that, mind you, I'd say is probably better than its Clippers team. But just seeing KD be his efficient, effective self and it not really even matter, like I wouldn't be shocked. That being said, a lot of it goes down to the Clippers. And I'd be swinging over to the Clippers side if Paul George is healthy. He's not, of course. Kawhi's still going to be an issue. I still think I have enough shooting up and down their roster. That could be interesting. I think Ty Lue, I look at him as a better coach than Monty Williams in terms of looking for advantages and maximizing those. I think it's really going to come down to X factor. how is Russ Westbrook going to play? Like, I'm not saying he's the X factor. I'm just saying he's one of the X factors. Like, how is he going to play at the point, right? Which bench guy for either team steps up consistently? Those are the between the margins, because you know what KD's going to do. You know what Kawhi is going to do. When does Paul George come back? That's what I'm looking at. But right now, yeah, we're going to go 7-6. And it's going to be a close one.
I think this is going to be a series where you're going to see how important depth is in the playoffs. Because the Suns, as Corban said, I mean, Josh Okogie's a fifth starter. Then who's the first guy off the bench? Torrey Craig.
Torrey Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, the Clippers are known for, Steve Ballmer spending all this money and going into luxury tax to bring Norm Powell and Plumlee and Bones Highland and Terrence Mann and Covington and all these, just Eric Gordon, all these guys off the bench. It's just going to be interesting to see depth for stardom. But anyway, it's already been about an hour, and we haven't even got to the conference finals yet. So let's do some quick analysis and a little bit of lightning rounds. Keith, you have Bucks and Cavs. Who do you have?
Got to go Bucks. Cavs, I think, are a nice, younger team. Going to give them some problems, but I'm going to go Bucks, and I'll say 6 again. Bucks and 6.
Okay, David, Bucks and Knicks.
Different teams, but same result. Bucks and 6.
Okay, I am also going to go Bucks and 6 just because I do think this Cleveland defense is legit, and I think the combination of Evan Mobley, Jared Allen could give Giannis as big of a fit as any other team that there is. I'm not saying nobody's going to give Giannis a fit, but I think they have the best chance. And then, Drew Holiday, same thing on the other end, is going to defensively give Donovan Mitchell and Garland a fit. So I'm excited to see that series. Corban, Bucks or Cavs?
I am going to go Bucks and 6.
Okay. Then while I have you, Corban, Celtics and Sixers.
Celtics and 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll go
that's
last.
gonna be a fun one.
I'm the Sixers guy here. Keith, Celtics and Sixers.
Celtics, 6. Celtics and 6.
Okay. And David.
I don't think there's any way this series doesn't go 7 games. I think the Celtics are the superior team and they win it in 7. But I think that this is 100% going 7 games.
Now I know how David felt when all three of us picked the Lakers. So I'm going to go Sixers and 7, which I want to say Sixers and 6 just because winning a game 7 in Boston would be extremely difficult. And again, Boston is very deep. They have Malcolm Brogdon, Grant Williams, and Derek White all coming off the bench. That's their 8-man rotation right there with the starting 5. But as we said earlier, Joel Embiid led the league in scoring back-to-back years. James Harden led the league in assists this year. Both of those guys, in addition to Daryl Morey, in addition to Doc Rivers, all have something to prove. They are top 10 offense, top 10 defense. They have the best record in the league since starting 12-12. I just think the Sixers have the making for the first time since, they really blew it up and started the process that they have the pieces together. But the Celtics have had our number year after year. I'm not counting on us beating the Celtics. This might be a little bit of wishful thinking. And then again, our reward of beating Boston would have to play 7-game series with 4 of them on the road in Milwaukee just to get to the final. So that's the difficult road for the Sixers to go. But, okay. Keith, let's go to you. Nuggets and Suns.
I'm going to go, man, that is a tough one. I'm going to go Nuggets. I'm going to go Nuggets. I know it's a rough one, but all the reasons that Corban was pointing out, I think about this Suns team where they do have some flaws down the roster. The top 3 guys, we all know who they are. DeAndre Ayton's there too, but I mean, how involved is he on the offensive side? How involved is he, at all? How engaged is he at this point when he's just not really a part of the game plan usually? I just don't know. So really, I think the top 3 guys are good there, but I do think people are sleeping on Denver. I really do. Top team in the West. I mean, they don't blow people out, but man, when you get in the half court and you get the grind out games, which is going to happen in these playoffs, you want Jokic, you want that Denver offense, because that Denver offense clicks in the half court. So if it's a slow down, game where they don't pace it up, which I do think that's going to be what it's going to be against the Suns, I'm taking the Nuggets.
Nuggets and how many?
7.
Okay. David, what about you? Nuggets and Suns.
Nuggets and 7.
I'm going to go Suns in 6. Just because I know Corban and I just talked about the depth issues that Phoenix has. But aside from Bruce Brown, I don't think Denver really they don't alleviate those depth issues either. They have depth issues of their own. So I know that
Reggie
Thomas
Jackson,
Bryant, I know Thomas
Jeff
Bryant and
Green.
Reggie Jackson now, but I don't know. I just think there's too much star power for Phoenix that I just think they find a way.
Bench, right?
What is it?
Yeah, they've
Bruce
got
Brown.
Yeah,
Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson,
and Thomas Bryant.
Thomas Bryant is, well, I guess technically Jokic is kind of a traffic cone too, but it's Jeff Green. Like, they have guys that have been there, so I like the depth for Denver as opposed to what you're running, what Phoenix is running out there, and I like the matchups that they have. Michael Porter Jr. has the length. You're not going to stop Kevin Durant, but I think Michael Porter Jr. has the length to. I don't even know if he's the one that's going to guard him, honestly, but I don't know.
Well,
it's not like defensives. Yeah. You got to stop Booker, and you have to stop Durant, and that's going to be tough. But you also have to have this Suns team stay healthy. And Chris Paul throughout his career has found ways to not be healthy. And if he is not healthy, that Suns team is not going to function in the way that it should.
Okay. Corban, Nuggets or Suns?
Suns, I think this is where we get to make fun of all the Jokic MVP voters. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think Suns. There's not a whole lot of analysis to say except Suns are better. But the only reason I'm saying that is because I think that, the only caveat I'm giving is if they're healthy, because like David said, there's a reason why the Nuggets are number 1 and the Suns weren't, right?
Okay, Suns
health is a huge factor. I'm going to say, just kidding, 6.
Okay. Corban, I'm going to stick with you. Lakers and Warriors. Warriors would have home field advantage in that series.
Oh, crap. Can we come back? No, we're going to say Nuggets, Lakers in
Cancun.
I forget you, bro. Lakers in 6. It's hard to talk myself into that because that matchup, like, we've seen it in like a playing game, right? And we've seen the regular season kind of back and forth and ebbs and flows. But like, I like, if we said Clippers or Suns, it'd be easier for me to say like, okay, those teams. But like, I feel like the Lakers and Warriors have played each other like relatively well. They have strengths and weaknesses the other team can't combat. Like AD, Kevon Looney, and Draymond Green can't stop him. LeBron's going to get a his. Steph Curry's going to wreak havoc. Klay Thompson's going to hit threes. Like, we know how they're going to go, but we've never seen it in a series. I'm going to lean Lakers because, of course, but also because I do believe in LeBron and Anthony Davis as a tandem. Just where they are. And other Warriors have to step up, and I can see Steph Curry kind of being maybe – I'm just talking myself in this. I'm going to say Lakers in 6, but I have the right to change mine.
Okay. Then
hypothetical.
I'm also going to go Lakers in 6. I'm going to agree with Corban here. I just think Lakers, again, I think Rob Pelinka really put the pieces together this trade deadline. And Austin Reeves, X Factor, that guy is unbelievable. He's better than Alex Caruso ever was for the Lakers. And he's going to get paid. So I'm going to go Lakers in 6, but that's going to be a hell of a series. I would say Lakers in 7, but as I said, Golden State doesn't lose at home, and they're not great on the road, so I think Lakers will find a way to win it in LA. So, Keith, let's go to you. You have Lakers and Kings, and obviously Sacramento would have home field advantage.
Yeah, and I got to go Lakers. Lakers in 7. The Kings, there are obvious weaknesses there. I think they do have a lot of scoring there, but I actually trust the Lakers defense more than I trust the Warriors defense, to be honest with you guys. So take that for what it's worth, but I think they actually have better pieces on the defensive side. As long as LeBron James is not taking every other play off like he's been doing all season, which I assume in the playoffs will probably lift that band a little bit and maybe play 75% of the defensive possessions. So I actually do like the Lakers here in 7 games.
Okay, then we have David with the Grizzlies and Warriors, which is a rivalry, isn't a rivalry. I'm not sure. Let's see if we can make it one.
Yeah, this is where it becomes a rivalry, right? You go back to MJ, right? He had Detroit, he had to conquer, he had the Celtics, he had to conquer. And so this is the year for the Grizzlies. This is the year they have to, you're playing LeBron and AD, they're beating them in the first round. And so then you have kind of your unicorn. They played the Warriors the toughest last year. And just couldn't get it done. They were not healthy. You're missing John Morant. Desmond Bane was playing Gimp in that series. But I think this is the year that they do it. And I really, I know I've talked about Luke Kennard quite a bit on this show, but I think a lot of people are sleeping on how much of an impact he made on this team and the amount, a lineup, the way the Warriors beat the Grizzlies last year is the guy that was playing the 4, whether that was Brandon Clark or if they were running, the 4 or 5 there, if it was Brandon Clark, they were running him as in the pick and roll. They were going right at him in the pick and roll, or any other big man not named Jaren Jackson. They were going straight at him in the pick and roll. What Luke Kennard does is allows the Grizzlies to play small with Morant, Bane, Kennard, Dylan Brooks at the 4, and Jaren Jackson at the 5. And the Lakers don't want to run Jaren Jackson into the pick and roll. They don't want to run Dylan Brooks into the pick and roll. And so their offensive strategy that they used to tear the Grizzlies apart last year is not going to be valid. And so I like the Grizzlies to win this series. It's going to be tough because these two teams bring the best out of each other. I think it's Grizzlies in 7.
Okay, then I'm just writing it down because it's impossible to keep track of otherwise. So let's move on. We have the conference finals now. Keith, Bucks or Celtics?
Yeah, I'm going the C's. Celtics have been my favorite since the season started. That depth that they added in the offseason is just crazy. Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench is just insane. Defense and offense are both there. So Celtics over the Bucks in 7.
Okay, David, what about you? Milwaukee or Boston?
Same, for the exact reasons that Keith just said.
Okay, and then Corban, Milwaukee or Boston?
Boston.
How many?
6.
Okay. Then I have Milwaukee Sixers. I just think if the Sixers get by Boston, they'll find a way to get past Milwaukee too. I suppose for momentum purposes, if nothing else. But again, I acknowledge as I'm putting my team in the finals, how difficult of a path Boston and Milwaukee is. I think they're the 3 best teams in the league. I think Boston, Milwaukee, and Sixers are, I don't want to say far and away, but I think they're definitely the 3 best teams in the NBA. So I'm going to go Sixers in 7, winning that game 7 in Milwaukee. That'd be tough to win a game 7 in Boston and win a game 7 in Milwaukee in the same playoffs. But okay, Corban, let's go back to you. You have Suns and Lakers. Suns would have home field advantage.
Lakers in 7.
So you have the Lakers winning game 7 in Phoenix.
Oh, okay, fine. Suns in 6. Suns in 6.
Suns in 6?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I don't want to, and I gotta at least somewhat be a regular analyst. And the Suns have been a thorn in the Lakers' side, regardless. Health, not health, bench, no bench. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's been a problem. And I think it started with that 2021 playoff series with injuries. And at this point, like, again, this is barring on like extremely good luck that LeBron and AD are still healthy. Then I might be more inclined to give the Lakers a run. But if we're going to the conference finals at this point, I just feel like I've already seen Anthony Davis scare. I can feel it already. So, and KD would be a problem regardless. If Lakers have any, and KD would be a problem if the Lakers are fully healthy. If the Lakers have any issues, forget it. So yeah, I'm gonna say Suns in 6, and Chris Paul's going to the NBA Finals tonight.
I'll do it for you. I'll go Lakers in 7. No, I'll go Lakers in 6. I'll go Lakers in 6 because I don't think they win game 7.
Appreciate that.
I'm drinking the Rob Pelinka juice for the first time ever. I'm not a
I know. You were very not high on him moving into the trade deadline. And then all of a sudden you became the biggest convert. I was like, whoa, that's me.
I'm not a Rob Pelinka fan in general, but I
know
that I like the moves that he's made.
That's fair.
This team. I just, again, depth, Phoenix doesn't have it. And I think the Lakers, with how Austin Reeves is playing and D'Lo and Vanderbilt, they have guys that could actually complement LeBron and AD. For just about the first time ever. I don't think the 2020 bubble team had pieces that complemented these two guys as well as this team does. David, Denver, Memphis.
this is where Steven Adams is going to be missed, and this is the end of the road for Memphis. I think the Nuggets win this series because of Steven Adams not being there, and I think the Grizzlies still make it a series. I think Denver wins it in 6.
Okay. And then Keith, you have Denver and Lakers.
Yep, and this is where Jokic eats the Lakers for breakfast and lunch and dinner, and proves to everybody why he is the 2-time in a row MVP, maybe 3-time, probably not, but maybe
Should be 3-time.
He could be. You never know.
Voter fatigue is garbage. I hate that term.
Hey, but you know what though?
Exist.
But you know what? No, he is. I think he does really eat up the Lakers here, and I think Anthony Davis doesn't want that smoke. So I'm gonna go Denver Nuggets. I'm gonna go with Denver Nuggets in 6.
Wow. See, I'm actually on the other end of the spectrum. I hope the Lakers got the Nuggets over the Suns because 2020 did happen. Just throwing it out there. But anyways,
it did.
No, it did. But you're
Let's
right. You're right.
Let's flip the script. Let's go.
I'm with you, Keith. I get you. I like this. Anyway.
Okay. Corban, let's go to you. NBA Finals. Celtics versus Phoenix. Celtics would have home field advantage. So game 7 would be in Boston.
Phoenix in 6.
Okay.
I just don't trust Boston like that. I maybe, and this is where my not bias shows. I'm very high on the Tatum Brown connection. I'm just not high on Tatum as being that guy. I just feel like he's too inconsistent in the biggest games for me to have full faith in him. In the finals, he shrank, and it's the first time in the finals. Okay, some players don't do that. I'm not saying that Tatum will do that again. I'm just not. I don't know. I look on the Suns side. I see a team that if they make it to the finals, it's hardened from their failure last time. The collective desperation they have, the addition of KD. I just look at that. Boston's a better built team. I don't know. I just don't think they can't get in front of their own way. And Joel Mazzulla, he came off really hot as a coach, and then he's made some interesting decisions, in my opinion, coaching wise. I don't know if I fully trust him. So yeah, I'm gonna go Suns if they're there.
Okay, David, Celtics and Nuggets. Celtics would have home field advantage.
Celtics 7.
We haven't had an NBA Finals go 7 in a while. Was Golden State and Cleveland the last one?
That was
yeah.
That was the last one. Yeah, 2016.
In a while. Keith, Boston Nuggets. Boston has home field.
Yeah, I'm going Boston. I'm going Boston in 6. Just too much skill. If it's Denver, I think it's Boston 6.
Okay, so Keith has Boston in 6. David has Boston in 7. Corban has Phoenix in 6. I have Sixers Lakers. I just think whoever comes out of the East is going to be 2. I think whoever comes out of the West is going to be 2 open matched for one of those 3 big teams in the East. Again, I do think they're the 3 best teams. This is probably my homerism showing a little bit, having the Sixers win a game 7 in Boston, a game 7 in Milwaukee, and then finally to get a game 7 in Philly and beat LeBron James in a game 7 to complete the process. Again, obviously wishful thinking, but I'm going to ride. Similar to David, I am a season ticket holder, so game 7 in the NBA Finals would be in Philly.
Run me all that money, baby. Run me all that
Boston
money.
and Milwaukee all would have home field advantage over anybody in the West because they have the 3 best records in the league. So they would, even if Denver made it as a 1 seed, they would have home field advantage. But yeah, so our final results: Keith and David both have the Celtics. Corban has the Suns. I have the Sixers. So, gentlemen, any final thoughts? We went a little bit longer than expected, but yeah, I'm excited. So you guys the play-ins start tomorrow. I'm going to try to get this episode posted on the Bird Rights feed tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at BirdRightsPod. You could rate and review, listen wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Keith, this is going on the Bulls feed. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, at BSBP Keith is my Twitter handle. Go follow me there. Obviously, we have the DFS Today pod also where we do DFS. We're going to be doing that through the playoffs and also bringing you guys a live lineup block show as well on YouTube. So the SportsEthos YouTube channel is where that's going to be at. So definitely find all my work there as well. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Steven, and always great. But I think my one comment here is we're going to need a show if the Lakers and the Memphis Grizzlies play each other. We're going to need a post-game show from Corban and David for every single one. It could be like 20 minutes, but we just need a little bit of that.
I'm with
It's a pay-per-view boxing event.
We can get it for sure.
Absolutely, David. Let's make that happen, Keith. I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay, David, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I am the host of the Ethos Grizzlies podcast. You can get it on, find us on Twitter at Ethos Grizzlies, and then get the show anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So if you're a Grizzlies fan, if you're not a Grizzlies fan and you want to hear us talk about the Grizzlies, come over and check it out. I appreciate you having me on. It was a blast. And also, anytime that you're putting a show together, if you want it to not go an hour, you should probably not have Corban and myself on here because we are both long-winded. So
Okay, that's no problem. I think we got good playoff analysis. So, Corban, this is going to be a Roundball Ramble feed. Anything you want to plug?
Just when David's not talking about the Grizzlies, he tells no lies. That's all I gotta say. I'm messing, but no. Aside from that, check out. I have another pod called Roster Reconstruction. I had Aaron Perlstein on talking draft. We're talking draft now. I'm gonna have Draft Deeper coming on talking that as well. The Hornets podcast, all off-season stuff. That's been crazy, great year. Great off-season awaits them. So I have some coverage on that with exit interviews, and then I have a piece coming out for Swiss Theory on the executive tenure of Bob Whitsitt and the Jailblazers. It's like 8 pages of like every transaction he did from '94 to like 2003, and just how he built this finals contending team and then tore it apart in a matter of 2 years.
Okay, there you have it. We will talk to you guys next episode, and hopefully we get we'll know tomorrow if we're going to get a Lakers Grizzlies series. So we'll have to see how that goes. And we will all talk to you guys individually on our own pods and each other's pods next episode. Thanks for listening, guys.